G'day folks, welcome back to another episode of Cookie's Fishroom. I'm Norm, for those who don't know me. I'm your host for today, as always. And I hope you've all had an awesome Christmas, spending it with whoever you did, however you celebrate, whether you celebrated or not. I hope Santa was kind to you, I hope you ate lots of cake. And I'm glad to see you all back here again, tuning in another time. So today, to continue on from the last video, last week's about plant decontamination, and once again, sorry about the mix up of the videos, we reloaded the right one. Tons of videos, that time of year, these mistakes happen. Thanks for the kind viewer who pointed it out for me. Yes, so we will be continuing on that same subject, plants, and we will be talking today about getting started with a planted tank, how to do it. I do get lots of questions about planted tanks, how to do it, how to start it off, how to maintain one, what plants to use, substrate, things like that. So today I will be having a quick chat about doing just that. Now, before I start, thank you for those who've already subscribed to the page and to our Facebook group, taking that time to hit that notification bell. And for those who haven't yet, please do so. Most of our videos can be used for marine as well as freshwater. And the only reason why I don't focus a lot on freshwater, I guess we use a lot of thumbnails to do with freshwater and things like that, is because freshwater is my personal hobby. I've gone through the whole marine phase. Particularly one of my favorites anymore. I prefer guppies, my favorite type of fish. So I will focus some videos, not all, on those sort of things. Things like our quarantine process, treating, certain diseases and things like that can be used across the board, marine or freshwater. So don't think, for those who do think this is just about freshwater, it's not just for freshwater. You can use this across the whole thing. So yes, if you do have any questions, don't forget to post them in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get back to you and answer them as soon as I see them. Okay, so back to the topic on hand. We're talking about how to get a planted tank started. As you notice behind me, I've got a little one here, and this is one of the many little tanks I have around the house. This one's a little one, a breeder, as I call them, a breeder box, and there's a few guppies in there. These ones mainly dumbos, dragon dumbos, so hopefully I'll be having some fry soon. And yeah, that's a planted tank. I've had more success with breeding when it comes to planted tanks, only because it replicates their natural habitat, makes them feel more comfortable. And things like nitrates and ammonia don't become too much of an issue with a planted tank, as it does with bare bottom and, fake plants, for instance. So where do I start? I go shopping. What do I buy? So first thing, there's three main things that you've got to really think about when you're looking at starting a planted tank. Is my light good enough? Is my substrate good enough? And what plants am I getting? Well, when I say what plants, is it to do with a high-tech, tank where we have CO2, or is it mainly easy tank where low-tech, where we don't rely on CO2 and basically just, not so much aquascaping as behind me, just like a jungle look. And we're just doing the basics like ferts and fertilizers, that means root tabs and other things like that. So let's start with, as I go along, I will, say if you want the high-tech version, you need this, and if you want the low-tech version, you'll need, one or the other. I'll just make a difference. I'll point it out. So, substrate, low-tech or high-tech, it's very important to have the right substrate. Behind me, I'm using fluval stratum. Stratum, to me, is the best, has to be the best substrate I've used, personally. A lot of my tanks, probably about 90% of my tanks have stratum in it, because I find that the plants absolutely go crazy with it. They grow best, the roots seem to have a lot of aeration, room to move, room to grow, and the nutrients in the actual dirt is fantastic. Now, that can be used in a high or low tech tank. It doesn't have to be, high tech to have that. You can have a budget friendly version if you decide you want to go low tech and not to worry too much about spending a lot on the substrate. I've used play sand in one of my tanks, and it does have plants in it, and they seem to be growing really well. They are low-tech plants, which I will have a point out what low-tech plants are and give you a few examples. And those low-tech plants absolutely love the sand, and they seem to be growing really well at the moment. I don't put anything in this tank. It's just sitting there with a breeding trio of blue Moscows in it at the moment, and it seems to be doing very well for itself. And all I do is a water change probably once a month, and that's all it gets. So it is, the more you spend on substrate, the better plants you will have. The better plants you can use, I should say. The more variety of plants you can use, and the better your plants will look. So for instance, now we can talk about low-tech plants. Things like pink baby tears and Java ferns and moss, let's say Java moss, are considered to be, Elodia, another one, hornwort, are considered to be low-tech plants. They don't require much in the way of fertilizers and good substrate and amazing lights. You can put them straight into play sand, and they seem to do very, very well and grow on their own without much help at all. Now, you couldn't plant things like AR or green baby tears or Monte Carlo or anything like red colored plants, for instance. They seem to require extra iron and better substrate. I found a lot of them don't grow successfully in gravel or in sand, like I'm talking about play sand. So I do recommend, if you're going to go something fancy looking, rotalas or anything like that, go for the stratum, the dirt. They do look much better. Red color against black substrate seems to pop more. You get some of the pinks and some of the oranges, and they look fantastic against black substrate. Now, if you still want substrate that will help with some of the high-tech plants, but it won't cost you an arm and a leg, black diamond blasting sand, I found, actually does a better job than regular play sand. Regular play sand seems to compact a little. With the black diamond blasting sand, it seems to be more aerated, seems to be slippery almost, you could say, and moves for the roots much easier. It still has a black look to it. It's a little bit more glossy, but it does look fantastic against some of these plants. As you can see behind me is black substrate here, the stratum again. Some of the reds in this corner over here seem to pop like crazy against the black. If you could see it closer, you would understand, but it is amazing what it does. Now, other sort of substrates you can use, again, the black diamond blasting sand is not expensive at all. It looks great. You can use even gravel of all sorts, pebbles. They all seem to work with low-tech tanks. Again, if you're going high-tech, highly recommend the dirt types. Amazonia, ADA, now they've got ADA 2 now. I haven't tried that one, but I've heard good things about it, and I will fill you in when I do try it, which I'm planning on doing that soon too. So that's really important to get your substrate right when you're picking out plants, and if you're going high-tech, low-tech, trying to decide which way you're going. So again, the next important thing is your light. So you need to decide whether, again, you're going to go high-tech, low-tech. Low-tech plants don't require a really expensive light, you could say. They don't need the full spectrum that the high-tech lights will provide you. A lot of these high-tech lights have phone apps or timers built in where you can have it come on at some time. Actually, it inclines in brightness. It has a sunrise function, and you have the sunset function. You can even integrate storms into it just to give that natural feel to your fish tank, to the fish. But with the low-tech ones, you basically get on, off, blue or white. So you can have that night look if you like, or you can have the, you know, the regular white light just to get them by. So behind me right now is what I consider to be a low-tech light, even though it does come with a little controller here, remote control. And it wasn't too expensive. This one just happens to have the, hold it up, to have all the functions of timers and, you know, sunset, sunrise, moonlight, and all the rest. You can actually pick a color and it does that color, which is great. I don't know how much the fish like it though, but it looks pretty fancy and it's schmick and it looks great. It's fun to use. The kids seem to have a kick out of it whenever they see the light changes color. Again, I'm not sure if the fish appreciate it too much, so I don't really play around with it that much. This light itself wasn't that expensive. I think it was in the under $20 on eBay somewhere. I don't have the link for this one no more, but it was shipped from overseas and didn't cost an arm and a leg. It does a great job, as you can see behind me. I've used this from scratch. All of these plants that are in here were clippings of other plants. So they were only about an inch tall when I put them in here, and they've actually grown that amount in less than a month. I'm pretty sure it was less than a month. I think it was about 3.5 weeks. They grew almost 2 inches. So it was great with that. I did put some ferts in there, mind you. So fertilizers are vital in my opinion. And I'll get to that after I finish with the lights. So you've got to decide how much you can afford with the lights, what you want to spend, if you want to go low tech or high tech, and if your plants are going to be, you know, the high tech or low tech plants again. So if you've got good plants, spend a bit, get a good full spectrum light. It doesn't have to have all the whiz bang things on it. You want to have the right correct amount of watts, and you want to have a full spectrum. So all the colors in there, green, blue, red, white, LEDs. So the correct spectrum will ensure correct growth, good growth, thickness, size, everything that you can think of. You know, the greens and the reds will pop more. They will be deeper, and the leaves will be thicker. They won't turn to skeleton very quickly. They won't die as much. So it's important to have a good light. Things like Alodia again, hornwort, and even guppy grass, Java moss, they don't really need really bright lights. They need the basics. I've got Alodia growing in the pond in the backyard, and it gets light for about 3 hours a day from the sun, and it's growing out of control. So you just remember, it's easy to grow the low-tech plants with not much effort. So it's all up to you which sort of plants, again, based on the plants that you're choosing. Choose the substrate and choose the lights to match the plants. Also, now, going back to the ferts. So with plants, they're like us. They require sustenance. They need food to grow. Fertilizers is the plant's food. It's where it gets its food, its sustenance, its vitamins, its minerals, and the better you feed it, the better they grow. I have tried, I can't even begin to tell you how many different fertilizers I have tried. I was lucky enough that one of my admins from the Cookies Fishroom on Facebook, if you haven't joined yet, look us up, join. Joel, if you're watching, g'day. He sent me some Aquarium Co-op root tabs and Aquarium Co-op Easy Green. So I tried that over some of the other US leading brands, and I'll leave those unmentioned. And I couldn't begin to tell you how much better Easy Green has been to use compared to those other bigger brands. I can't speak any more highly of Corey and his product. It is amazing. The growth over an inch in 2 weeks. I did use their root tabs also, and the root tabs aren't like the other root tabs I have used. A lot of the others seem to just slip out of my hands and float to the top and go giant. These seem to be easy to plant underneath the substrate, and they seem to stay there, which is important. You don't want them popping out of the substrate and floating up. And I got better growth out of those than any other root tabs also. So I highly recommend you grabbing some Aquarium Co-op Easy Green. And no, there's no kickback from that comment for myself. This is based on all personal experience, and that's what I've been using there. It is amazing stuff, and I can't express how great it is to use. So if you need to choose a good fertilizer, highly recommend you start with it, and it's a really decent price to get as well. Especially for the US viewers, jump on board, grab some if you've got a planted tank and try it out. You've got nothing to lose really. So that covers fertilizers. So the reason I use root tabs, so you've got two types of, let me explain. You've got root tabs, little tablets, and you got fertilizers. So the fertilizers kind of look after the plants that feed from the water column, and the root tabs look after the ones who feed from the roots. So if you've got a cheaper type of substrate, it will ensure that the roots are getting all the minerals and sustenance it needs from these tablets, and at the same time they make the plant look awesome. Like, you know, the colors pop, there's no yellowing. I haven't had any yellowing since using these. And again, the water column plants, you know, the floating plants and even some stem plants, they seem to grow so well. The reds come out, you know, brilliantly. So that's great if you're running a even a high-tech tank, which runs with CO2, can use Easy Green, which I am using in mine. I had an issue before using Easy Green where my reds were melting away, and some of my other plants had yellow patches. So with a plant testing kit, you can actually find out what you're missing. And I was low on iron and potassium, so I bought some of those products and replaced some of that in my tank, and it's growing great now. Things are picking up once again. So even experienced, seasoned aquascapers like myself can make mistakes. I didn't realize some of these plants needed extra iron and needed extra potassium. So it's important to keep an eye on what your plants are telling you, and they usually tell you via their leaves if they're turning yellow or they've got holes in them or if they're getting really thin. Take note. If you're not sure, take a picture, jump onto Cookie's Fishroom on Facebook, put a picture up, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. So the last thing I really want to cover once again is your water quality. So water quality, just like with fish, is vital for plants. If you've got zero nitrates, it can cause an issue. There's no food for these plants to feed on. I found out the hard way not too long ago. I overcleaned a tank, and this planted tank no longer exists because of that. So a lot of plants do require some level of nitrates, and I think it was my Monte Carlo that suffered the most. I cleaned it up pretty well around it. With a planted tank, you got no room there for a gravel vac, but I was using a turkey baster and I found pockets of poop everywhere, and I was just sucking it out into a bucket. And I think about a couple of weeks later, I noticed the yellowing of the leaves of the Monte Carlo to the point where overnight it just went bang, see-through and grey. So with lots of discussions with plant experts, I've come to that conclusion. So hopefully with replacing, not cleaning as much and leaving some of these nitrates in there, a low amount, I am going to have a pretty fish tank once again. And for those who aren't US-based viewers, there is another product, another fertilizer that is absolutely awesome. It's called LCA. It's widely available on I'm not sure, yeah, it's on Amazon and it's on eBay. Again, no kickbacks from this for me. It's just something that I've tested and used. Next to Easy Green, this would be my second choice. And if you can grab yourself a bottle, if you're down under like myself, it will do a great job for you. There's a lot of varieties. There's a low-tech version, high-techs, and they've even got, you know, iron, potassium, all the separate things that you need. So you can just jump on their website, have a look, and I'm sure if you've got a question, the boys who run the shop will be happy to answer them for you. So yes, back to water. You got to keep it great. You can't have too many nitrates. Too many nitrates will kill all your plants. So just like fish, it doesn't like nitrates, it doesn't like ammonia. Keep it clean. More water changes will give you more happier plants, happier fish. I use seek equilibrium in my tank for the calcium and magnesium, and I can't, again, you've seen my other videos, how much I like using the product. It's been great. All tanks have been happy since using it. Fish have been happy, healthier. So recommend that also. So with all that in mind, it's important to realize plants need to have a healthy amount of vitamins, minerals, foods, and good water around them. You provide them with a good quality home, and just like fish and just like us, they'll be happy. And when we're happy, we flourish, we bloom, and that's exactly what your plant will give you in return for the attention that you pay towards it. Now, next time, I'll hopefully be talking to you about CO2 setups. So tune in for that. And if you haven't again subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. So tune in next week for another video. Thanks to those who took the time to tune in. If I haven't said Merry Christmas to you, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I hope you all have a safe one. Celebrate with your family and friends, and more importantly, stay COVID free. I'll see you all in 2021. Take care and tune in next week. Bye for now.